home, as you know, is not necessarily where you grew up. Home can be where you make it, and
Mhm.
home can be where you're from, and it can also be where you're going.
Hey, y'all, and welcome. You're listening to the Cowgirl Confessions podcast. I'm your host, Dakota Dawn Johnson, small town cowgirl with Southern roots, blazing a trail as a Midwest ranch wife, mama, and businesswoman. The mission of Cowgirl Confessions is to share the wonderfully wild and Western life stories of cowgirls from all walks of life. We'll talk about the highs, the lows, and everything in between when it comes to navigating careers, cowboys, kids, and cattle. Legendary cowgirl Dale Evans said it best. Cowgirl is a pioneer spirit, a special brand of American courage. The cowgirl faces life head on, lives by her own lights, and makes no excuses. Cowgirls take stands. They speak up. They defend the things they hold dear. A cowgirl might be a rancher, a barrel racer, a bull rider, or an actress, but she's just as likely to be a checker at the local Winn-Dixie, a full-time mother, a banker, an attorney, or an astronaut. If you're into wet saddle blankets, talks with God, buckets full of laughter, and the life lessons learned in the process, kick off your boots and settle in. I pray these stories encourage, empower, and give you just the leg up you need. Here's to embracing the cowgirl state of mind, no matter how wild and Western life may get along the way. Every once in a while when I meet somebody new, they'll say, Dakota, where are you from? And I love having the opportunity to say, I grew up in a small town in rural Alabama. Now, whether you have small town roots or dream of one day trading in the city life for a little slower pace, or maybe you just enjoy an occasional weekend getaway where you can actually see the stars at night. Whatever your version of living the small town life looks like, my friends at thesmalltownlife.com, they have you covered with comfortable and unique ball caps and graphic tees that the entire family will love. Be sure to go follow them on Instagram and Facebook and use the hashtag #TheSmallTownLife when you're out there doing the small town living. Welcome to another episode of the Cowgirl Confessions podcast. Thank you for joining me. I am so excited about today's episode and our guest because she has known me as long as I've been alive. And I just think it is incredible to have someone from LA, Lower Alabama, not Los Angeles, joining me on the podcast. So if you're used to hearing me and you're like, man, I have a little twang, you're going to get a big serving of it today between me and my friend Brooke Burks, who is the gal behind the Buttered Home. We're going to talk home cooking made easy, and also why it's so important to, have this art of cooking so you can pass it down for generations and create a legacy. So, Brooke, thank you for joining me today.
Oh, thank you for having me. And yes, I have known you since you were in your mama's belly.
And I feel like, you're part of the village, the community that raised me, and those Southern roots that I'm just, so proud to have and thankful to have. Let's dive in, Brooke, and just give everybody just kind of a, hey, who you are, where you're from, and how you got started cooking.
Oh gosh. Well, long, long years ago, when I was just a little bitty thing, I spent a lot of time in the kitchen with my grandmother. And I was fortunate enough to, up until last year, her sister, my great aunt, Peggy Hubbard, lived to be over 90 years old. I spent probably an equal amount of time in the kitchen with her. We were just very blessed to have her for years and years and years. And I think I can remember as far back as about 4 standing on a chair in her kitchen and in my grandmother's kitchen, just kind of soaking it all in. So it's been something that I have been working on since probably the age of 3 when I got my first little aluminum stove and sink set for Christmas from Santa Claus. And just over the years, with life being a working mom of 2 girls, we we have to get supper on the table. That's a tradition that my mom, my grandmother, my Aunt Peggy, everybody did. We sit down to eat together. And as my girls got older and I taught them how to cook, I kind of realized that that skill set was kind of fallen by the wayside because so many of their girlfriends at their age in the teen years didn't know really to do anything but how to use a microwave. So I saw a need there. And then probably around 2014, I got an Instant Pot for Christmas from my mother. And I just fell in love with that thing. And my best friend, Ray, who you also know, she was like, you've got to do this. You've got to have a blog. You can talk about the Instant Pot because you're talking my ear off about it. You need to talk to complete strangers instead. So she pushed and pushed, and I just never would do it because I'm like, I'm nobody. Nobody cares what I have to say about the Instant Pot or cooking. But fast forward to about 4 years later, one daughter already flew the coop and was living life as a early 20 something, and the next one was 2 years away from graduating high school. And I looked at myself in the mirror one morning and I said, what am I going to do when they're gone? Um, and have I, like so many of us moms ask that question, have I taught them everything that they need to know? And what if something happened to me? Would they be able to go back and even just find a recipe? And so I gave in to the online space to number one, have something to do as an empty nester, kind of a retirement plan in tow, and then to kind of create a legacy for my children and other women and their children too, by preserving some of the old scratch made home cooking stuff. You won't find me using a lot of anything like pre-made. I tend to use fresh ingredients and love to talk about like Alabama's seasonal produce and how to highlight and feature that. So, long story short, which I've already given you the long story, it just came out of a passion for cooking from a young age, up until trying to leave something for my girls and other girls too, and guys for that matter.
Oh, I don't want there to be short stories. I love stories. And so I think that was right on time and just the ticket. And you touched on so many things right there, Brooke, that I feel like, you could just hear your heart as a mama too. It's like you think about what kind of legacy you're going to leave your kids. And, as someone who lost their mom and long before I expected to, it's those little things, whether it's a handwritten recipe or like my mom was really into horses, as you know. And so like having her bridle, and some things that like remind me of her, but then there's like also that story to go along with it. So I just think that is something all of our listeners can relate to and understand how those things are so important, especially if you lose somebody and they're not there to pass those down. So just excited to hear more about how God has continued to expand your territory with the Buttered Home, because a lot has happened since 2018. And I also want to give a shout out to Ray, because maybe we'll have her on the podcast at some point. But I feel like she's that friend that just gives you that loving nudge all the time. Like, get out there and do it. And so we all need that friend in our life.
We do. And I don't know what I would do. She and Leah and Ashley, they are my three very best friends, and they have to listen to me complain about things that they're not all familiar with. So, but they've learned a lot with me over these last 5 going on 6 years too. And I don't know where I would be without their support. They're my little cowgirl circle, and I love them. So
yeah, they sure are special. And so take us through kind of the business side of it. Because, okay, you decided, all right, I'm going to give in. I'm going to do this. So what did that look like in the early days versus what it looks like now?
A lot of late nights. I had no clue I had no clue what I was doing. I knew I liked to cook, the cooking and putting together a recipe, developing recipes, doing all that research and development. All that's the easy part. It was the technical side and the business side that I had to kind of teach myself. Now, because Ray had a lot of online space background, she really did help me a lot in the beginning over the course of the first year on how to set up a website, what resources to look for to help me. She kind of helped point me in that right direction because there is a ton of places where, as what I'm considered a food blogger, you can find other food bloggers and help and resources and things like that. So she kind of led me through the door, and then I kind of just put feelers out everywhere. So it was a lot of learning. I started off with my website in July of 2018, and by the end of 2019, I had already taken 2 photography courses as well as some keyword research courses, and then quickly found out that I was on the wrong platform for food blogging. So, less than a year and a half in, I completely started over with a whole new website platform. So I've been there since the end of 2019 and have upgraded to different type of theme and plugins to kind of help me be more competitive in the online space because food blogging is very, very, very competitive. Um, but I think probably the thing that has helped me the most is like my networking connections with people, people who do what I do, because being an online entrepreneur can be very lonely, very isolating, especially if your real world friend group don't do what you do. It's hard to have somebody to talk to. But I've developed some relationships over the years that have helped me along the way to really just have some staying power with it too. So we have gone through a ton of changes just on the back end. The business side of things, I do accounting, fortunately, every day in my real world day job. So I did have some accounting background there, but I've still learned a lot because this is a whole nother bag here, a mixed bag of things here as far as what you can and can't do financially and what investments need to be made. And I'm it. I don't, this last year, I hired one girl who lives in Oklahoma to help me with social media, and she has been a godsend. But other than that, the kids help me a little bit when they're home because they're not home very much, but they know how to set up and kind of help and do things. Danny, up until this last year, which we'll talk about in a little bit, that's my husband. He's done a lot to help me on the technical side of things as far as filming and photography and things like that. He actually took the photography courses with me, which was fun. So he knows as much about photos as I do and editing and things like that. So it's nice. I've got him as a backup.
That is so special. And I mean, what better way than to show support than like taking action, getting in there and doing it right alongside you. That does not surprise me at all about Danny, just knowing him. But I'm sure there's people listening that's like, oh, I wish I could get my husband to do that. So that's awesome.
Yeah. So we've done a lot. We've made a lot of changes and started over from scratch at least twice in that short amount of time. Because 5 years, I know everybody who has kids knows how quick 5 years can go by. Go by. So.
Well, it does, and I think it's just a testament to once you decide to do something, the time's going to pass anyway. So whether you're having to start over, like you said, with a new platform with your website, or I think about things with this podcast, and sometimes I get discouraged because, like you, like I have a full-time job outside of this, and I know what I want it to be. I am fully convinced that like God has a bigger purpose for this than what I can even imagine. But some
Mhm.
days I'm like, I just don't feel like I'm not getting there fast enough. And then I
Mhm.
just have to back up and be like, okay, his timing, not mine. And the time's going to pass anyway. That's where I was going with that is the
Mhm.
time is going to pass, so you might as well just start and
Yep.
stay hooked. So,
Yep. That's right. That's
yeah.
right. And just take it one day at a time and just say, "Okay, God, what have you got for me today? Let's tackle it. Let's do it, and then I'll be ready tomorrow, provided you provide for me to wake up in the morning." So, that's right.
I get it. The idea of securing sponsorships can feel overwhelming. You're only one person, and this isn't your full time gig. Having to ask someone to give you money, a product, or service in trade for promotion might run a close race to that same feeling of throwing your leg over a fresh colt. Visions of an unpredictable ride and possibly getting yard darted feel very real and oh so uncomfortable. Nowadays, I get giddy at the opportunity to talk shop about the art of selling and sponsorship opportunities. However, this hasn't always been the case. I've wished many times over the years that I had a roadmap for navigating sponsorships and the challenges that can arise when communication isn't clear for all parties involved. That's one of the main reasons why I felt compelled to create the Kickstart Guide to Securing and Retaining Sponsorships. In this guide, you're going to learn my exact framework and strategies for securing and retaining sponsorships. Think of this guide as a roadmap that will help you get to your next sponsorship destination. Much like our personal journeys in life, each individual sponsorship journey will vary, and the road trip will look different based on where we're trying to go. There's a lot of information out there today, and it can be overwhelming to know which direction to take. While Google Maps and Surrey might lead you astray, this sponsorship roadmap won't. The sales strategies I teach throughout this guide are like Rand McNally, proven, tried, and true. You can find the Kickstart Guide to Securing and Retaining Sponsorships at dakotadonjohnson.com. Brooke, you have just from watching you, via social, you've had some great opportunities. You mentioned earlier, it's about getting with a community of people and really being able to be present there. So, share with us some of those different opportunities you've had to like go on site at some different events and share the buttered home.
Oh, great. Yeah. So one of the things I love Alabama. I know everybody says they love their home state, but in my early 20s, I had the opportunity to move away like twice, and it's home. I just didn't want to do it. So, one of the things that I said I wanted to do was to be very involved with things that featured, all the wonderful people and things that are great about our state. So, early on, I was very fortunate to be contacted by Alabama Living magazine, which is still a print publication that goes out to thousands and hundreds and thousands of electric rural utility members in the state of Alabama every month. So I'm their main recipe contributor and have been since 2019. I mentioned that first because that was early. They took a chance on me. We've had a spit and handshake kind of agreement for going on 5 years now. And that opened a lot of doors for me. Since then, I have worked with Alabama Farmers Federation. I have judged and spoken at like two different events for them, one being their Heritage Cooking Contest, which was great fun. I've also gotten to speak at their leadership conference, their women's leadership conference. I did that year before last in Birmingham, and that was a real treat. We did a demo, like a cooking demo type thing for the Instant Pot, of course. And so I've had the opportunity to work with Alabama farmers on, multiple occasions. Uh, this past year, there has been a collaborative effort in our state called Sweet Grown Alabama, and the Cattlemen's Association are involved with that. I have worked with them in the past. I've been a judge for their junior high, senior high cook off several years in a row. Hopefully, I'll get to do that this year as well. And the Cattlemen's Association, the peanut producers, Alabama Farmers Federation all came together a couple of years ago and formed an initiative called Sweet Grown Alabama, where they highlight the exact same things that I like to, the produce and the people who produce the produce and the livestock for the state of Alabama. And I got the wonderful opportunity to do a cooking demo on the first day of the Sunbelt Ag Expo this past fall. Now, you want to talk about stress and fun all at the same time?
A lot of pressure, but man, I mean, how cool to be in front of that many people and
Yes.
share your story.
Yes, it was fantastic. I've worked with Alabama peanut producers. I went on a harvest tour of the Baldwin County area that not long before I did Sunbelt. That was a lot of fun. I've gotten to do a lot of really fun things. Things that I had no idea that this would allow me to do. Knowing what you want to show about the places and the people that you love, I think when you tap into that and you ask the Lord to bless it, that He just provides those doors to be able to open to take you to places that you never could have dreamed. And everything that I've had the distinct pleasure and opportunity to do has been that's been His hand in it. And it's allowed me to kind of reinforce that, I guess, mission statement, if you will, something that I didn't even really know I had. It was something I wanted to do through cooking, and it's become so much more, so much more.
Hmm. I just love that. And Brooke, walk us through how you came up with the name and sharing that mission statement in your words for us, because nobody can tell it better than you.
Well, so I never wanted this to be about me. I wanted this to be about the things that, well, first, let me back up. So, food is nostalgia, right? Everybody looks forward to Thanksgiving dinner for a reason because we have some sort of nostalgic memory attached to it. So, food, um, and the good side of food, because, we can like lean into food for the wrong things, but I think by and large, food is something that we all connect with because we have some sort of pleasant memory that surrounds being with family or with friends. So, food tends to take on sort of a nostalgic thing. So for me, one of the things early when the girls were very little that was very important to me was to make sure that my kitchen, my whole home, but mainly my kitchen was a place where both of them and all their friends could be comfortable, that we could be at ease with one another. And I also wanted them to find that refuge in the kitchen, like I have so many times. Like I can go in and just turn some music on and just make some bread, and it will take away the stress of a bad day. So I wanted it to be about the things that keep what's considered the heart in the home. So I wanted to add in that component. And then, of course, just about everything I cook has butter in it. So, I mean, Rayanne and I just kind of just smashed those two things together. But it did have a very sweet, deeper meaning. It was, to have cooking at the heart of the home, because it is. It was for me with my grandmama's house. We would go to Sunday lunch there. And you think about where you and your family gather, and you, even just on a Tuesday night, that's one of the things that I like to say. So, a lot of this was to try to get people to disconnect and reconnect with one another, even if it's just in the kitchen, in the heart of the home. So that is what I feel like we've been able to do. And then it's morphed into so much more than that, because home, as you know, is not necessarily where you grew up. Home can be where you make it, and
Mm.
home can be where you're from, and it can also be where you're going. And for me, home is the state of Alabama. Home is now being a grandmother, where when I started this, I was just a mother.
Hmm.
So I think that encompasses all of those things. And we just try to feature all the wonderful things about that nostalgic home feeling, whether it's the state that we love or just being in the kitchen by myself teaching somebody how to cook, or being with my kids and my grandkids. And I think everybody on some level can relate to those things.
Absolutely. That's so special. And you've got some exciting things that are going on right now with the Buttered Home. Would you share some of that? Give us a little taste of that, Brooke, because we know there's some stuff in the works.
Yes, so we're really excited. We again, another door that the Lord opened that I had no idea, that if you had asked me in 2018 if I would ever think that I was doing this anywhere other than my kitchen, I probably would have laughed. But we are in the process and almost done building a 1,000 square foot studio kitchen, designated space separate from my home. And it's been a ton of fun, but it's been a labor of love, because Danny has done all of it by himself. I've helped, but I'm not, I'm not much help. I just try to keep him happy and fed. But
Wow.
we have lots of plans for that space, and I'm hoping that we'll be in it within the next month. We're at that stage where we're just kind of tying up all the loose ends. So we've got lots of things planned for that space, other than just having it separate from my house, which can now become my sanctuary again, instead of where I work, the other 2 days a week when I'm not working at my regular job. So, but we
Sure.
have lots of, that's been very exciting. We started that back in June of 2023 and are about to wrap it up. And, did you want me to go ahead and talk
Yep.
about one of the things we got? Okay.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Spill the
So,
beans. They're hearing it here first. So
yes, they're going to be hearing it here first. So, one of the things that we did early is we used to cook live every Monday night on social media, on usually Facebook and Instagram. Well, but when I started like trying to have a YouTube channel, that put me cooking the same recipe like 4 different times to be able to have a pre-recorded video and cook it live. So we backed away a little bit from the live syndication of some things. But I tend to just kind of do that at random occasions from time to time now, just whenever the urge strikes. But one of the things that I'm most excited about is that we are going to, hopefully second quarter of 2024, be prepared to offer live cooking classes. So there'll be a virtual cooking class where you'll get all of the equipment needed and the recipe, as well as the shopping list and all ahead of time. These will be a very, easy price point. Probably they'll be less than $10 a piece. And I'm planning on doing that once a quarter for the rest of the year. And I'm really excited. I've polled my viewers and they love it. And it's going to be things that are practical and skills that can be passed down for years and years to come. So I'm super excited for that. So if you want to get on that, just check thebutterphone.com for more details. Hopefully we'll have some up soon.
oh yeah, we will be sure to put the website in the show notes, and then I'm just so excited for you, Brooke, and for Danny, just the whole family, and really our community, because you're a light. You're a light for the good that comes out of Lower Alabama, and I'm just excited. I'm getting to the opportunity to share you and your story with our listeners. What is I'm sure it's hard to have a favorite because you cook so many different things, but if you could share with us like your favorite quick and easy recipe for the Instapot with our listeners.
Oh, wow. Well, that would have to be, and it's actually my most popular Instant Pot recipe. It is a pulled pork tenderloin. And I know I'm talking to some cattle folks, but
No, you're good. You're good. Go ahead.
but it's you take a lean cut of pork tenderloin and you treat it almost like you would if you were going to make a slow cooked Boston butt. You put a nice dry rub on it. We have a good sugar free rub for that. You sear it and you cook it all in the Instant Pot, and it's done in like less than an hour. And it's fantastic. It's healthy, and it will feed you and your family. I mean, for probably more than a day, depending on what size pork tenderloin you use. But now, Danny will tell you it is not as good as Boston butt. But if you're watching what you're doing, or if you just don't have time, if it's 18 degrees out like it is right now,
Mm-hmm.
you don't want to go put a Boston butt on. It feels the need, and it's fantastic. And it's probably my most requested recipe, and so simple, so simple.
Oh, so good. And then, okay, what sides would you put with it? You got your pork tenderloin. What two sides would you suggest with that?
Oh, well, you got to have a good potato salad, and you got to
Yes,
have,
ma'am.
you probably got to have baked beans. And I have some baked beans that have beef and smoked sausage in them. You could probably eat these baked beans as a meal all on their own, but they're fantastic, and they freeze well too.
That's right. Oh, I love that. Have some extra if you don't eat all the leftovers, freeze it, and you're ready to go another day. So,
That's
life
right.
hacks.
That's right. That's
Life
right.
hacks brought to you by Brooke Burks and the Buttered Home, right here, folks.
That's
uh,
right.
well, Brooke, I have so enjoyed our time today, and just looking forward to all that you're going to continue to do in the future. We wrap up every episode asking our guests, what does the cowgirl state of mind mean to you? And I've heard, as you've shared parts of your story today, I can hear the cowgirl state of mind, but I want to know in your own words, what does that phrase mean to you?
Well, it's twofold for me. First, it is, and this is for probably women everywhere, just the moment that you don't think that you have something to offer, that's the moment that you really need to just, you do. You always have something to offer to the world. You're important, and everything that you have in your life is a blessing, not only to you but to all those around you. um, be willing to share that, because everything that you do in your life will be a legacy for someone else. It'll be a memory or a legacy, and you get to choose if you how you hand that down and how that is going to be remembered, because of the how important you are and the message that you have to share. And it can just be something as simple as a recipe, means a lot to somebody. So you want to make sure that you have that heritage mindset always, that what you have to offer is important now and will be in the future. And you have just the whole world at your fingertips on how you can do that and share that with others.
Hmm. Thank you so much, Brooke. I'm proud to know you, proud to call you my friend.
Well, I'm pretty proud to know you too. This has meant a lot to me. I hope you know that. I appreciate your time, and the fact that you allowed me to share a little bit of this South Alabama thick drawl with everybody.
It makes me feel right at home when my husband gets back. He's gonna be like, it's even thicker, like it doesn't matter where I go or how long I'm away from sweet home Alabama. I don't lose the accent, and I'm grateful for that because it's a great point of conversation. So
Yes, yes, yes. So, well, you can tell him it's all my fault whenever he gets home.
oh well, Brooke, thank you so much, friend, and I'm just going to be praying for the way that God is going to continue to expand your territory through, the blessing of the buttered home. So,
Well, thank you so much. And I'll be praying for you too, sweetheart. When you come home next time, call me and let me cook for you, especially in that new studio.
You got it. You got it, dude. Thank you for spending your time with me on the Cowgirl Confessions podcast. I'm so glad y'all stopped by. If you could take a moment to share this episode and tag us on social media, I'd be happier than a cowgirl in a sea of buy one, get one vintage turquoise. Subscribe to make sure you don't miss an episode. New episodes will be released bi-monthly. Please leave us a review if you feel so led by going to iTunes. Your feedback will really help us breed the idea of grabbing life by the horns with a cowgirl state of mind into women across the globe. Some that may have never even had the privilege to throw their leg over a horse, but could most certainly use the cowgirl state of mind while navigating life. Thanks again, y'all. Until next time, keep pursuing your dreams with that all go and no woe mentality. Remember, you're writing a story that's worth saddling up for, sister.